yourself a gun.
What?
Gun.
What?
Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you.
What?
What if your government tries to throw you in a can?
What?
You're gonna want a shotgun.
Oh. What?
Or an automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo.
Gun?
Yeah, a gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooty cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension fund. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
It is Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime. It's time to riot in the streets. My name is Michael.
I'm Nick. Michael, what's going on?
I don't know, man. You tell me. I'm frozen in here. It's in the low high 30s, something like that. It's cold.
The water is starting to get still.
Yeah, I don't like that. I didn't pay for that.
No, we actually we got up this morning and it was a ripe old 7 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's not good on these old bones.
I'm going to tell you what, all you people from north of I-20, come get your weather back.
Yeah.
Come take it back. We don't want this down here.
Yeah,
That's not what we paid for.
As I found out on Sunday as I was shoveling the Colombian Bang Bang from my driveway, that that stuff makes a good weight additive to your non-4-wheel drive truck bed.
Yeah, it's pretty handy for applying traction to those big slippery wheels on the back.
Yeah.
So, what's going on with you?
Actually, made a couple of purchases this weekend. I picked up some polymer PMags in the 5.56 by 45 realm, and picked up a new grip for the strip lower that I'm going to be building out into my next rifle. So
Cool beans.
This is going to be a one at a time kind of thing, and just found some things on my local gun trader and made the deal. So everything came through as advertised, and good rep points all around, and
let me ask you,
a good deal.
On the items you purchased, the PMags are of interest to me. What was the price and generation, and what was the availability of them?
So, like I said, this was a private party deal between myself and another gentleman, and what they were Gen 2 Magpul PMags. So these are non-windowed, and I got 2 of them plus the hand grip, and that was for $40. So
that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. Could have been more, and it just happened to be that the individual was selling them. He doesn't have any more AR platform rifles, so he just needed to get rid of it, and I was happy to take them off of his hands. So worked out well.
That'll work out. You and I had spoke earlier, and you said you had gone shopping for some ammunition at a local large name retailer.
Sure did, and I've got no problem putting it out there because you can't sue me for saying information that's true. But I did make it out to the local Dick's Sporting Goods, aptly named, by the way, and they were very, very short on ammo. anything that they did have in stock was overpriced, and what they did have for the 5.56 was actually the 90 round black box American Eagle 5.56 ammunition, and that was priced at $44, so roughly 50 cents a round. And then they also had the ammo cans, and that was $207 for 440 rounds.
I believe that ammo can is 420 rounds is
There
what
you
that
go.
can
Yeah.
is. That ammo can sells in my location for about $180, and that's almost in line with what the price is at Academy, which is our large big box retailer that's pretty much well stocked.
Right,
We're in
and
the same boat. All the 5.56 is off the shelf. Even not XM, all the 5.56
yeah,
is off
and
the shelf.
and that's not the XM 855 that we talked about last week. I think the designation on this is M193. So it's a different variant of the same round. This will not be affected in terms of the proposed ban by the ATF, which you do have until March to voice your opinion.
There is a petition out there if anybody cares to sign.
Well, it's not, and not only that, is there a petition? The BATFE is actually soliciting your comments to them about this proposed ban, and I recommend that you take a couple seconds and let them know your feelings. And if you're the type of person that writes your elected representatives, to do that as well. I typically
I
tend to
think
get.
that's a logical step to take before you grab the pitchfork and torches at this point.
Yeah.
We got to give them a couple more chances, I guess, before we take the inevitable steps that come about with problems in government and stuff like that.
So one of the interesting things that I did kind of test a theory on today was while I was at the local sporting goods counter, I asked the gentleman behind the glass, um, who is it that he typically sees coming over there and purchasing all the ammo, and he just kind of looked around and he saw that it was just he and I, and there wasn't any other employees and there wasn't any other customers, and he said, "Look, I just came from a store in West Virginia." And he said, it's the same thing going on there as it is here. And he said, it's the same guys that show up, and when they see it on the shelf, they immediately pull out their cell phone and text whoever is waiting in the car outside, and everybody files in, buys their limit, and everything's gone within minutes.
That's pretty much how it is here. Except for down here, it's well enough known that it's not just the same five guys. It's anybody who happens to pass by it and see it. Now, pretty much everybody knows the value of ammunition, and pretty much everybody knows that center fire rifle rounds are in the neighborhood of 50 cents to $1.50 each.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disconcerting to see like a 65-year-old lady who, I mean, hate to kind of cast stereotypes and everything, but that's usually not the semi-automatic center fire battle rifle crowd. And when they've got a couple boxes of it, man, they're priced exactly what the going rate is.
Well, there you go. These are the same ladies that end up hawking it at church on Sundays.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that at all. Any place to make a buck anymore.
Yeah.
In this drowning economy.
So what I did ask him, and I said, well, knowing that this is the type of clientele that is basically taking and turning your product around and making double what you're selling it for, what do you guys intend to do about it? And he said, well, basically he's talked to his sales manager, and what they're going to do is they're going to do the daily limit again. They're going to limit everybody to their 2 boxes or whatever they're going to buy. And he said that they're actually stepping up the efforts to try and patrol the parking lots to make sure that there's no selling or reselling of their merchandise in the lot. Now, I don't know the legality behind all that. I don't know the legal framework for my area, but it would only make sense that you wouldn't really want people doing deals like that in your store parking lot. I think it's a liability issue in the sense that, okay, you just like you might have sold a firearm to somebody, that guy goes around and does something with it, it's the same way that somebody sells
Well,
alcohol.
in that case, I see it as more of a buyer beware risk. I see very little risk in a person-to-person transaction of ammunition, other than the fact that the person you're buying it from may have tampered with it.
Well, and
And
that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
that's not common, but that leads us into another issue I like somewhat to cover tonight. The 300 blackout round. That's it fits into a 5.56 chamber. It fits into a 223 chamber, which is very common in the AR series. And 300 blackout is becoming more well known. Who's to say that if you were to buy some, let's say somebody's reloads, which I never recommend buying anybody's reloads unless it's your family member and you totally are 100% behind him. It's just that's a touchy thing, and I know there's plenty of people out there who can reload and they're trustworthy. Some I just don't recommend unless you know that person very well. Uh, who's to say you don't get a stray 300 blackout round in your box of 5.56? That could
Yeah,
really ruin your day.
it could lead to a total malfunction, otherwise known as a kaboom. But here's the deal. There's a certain caveat emptor to everything that you do in life. And when it comes to any type of remanufactured, I think is what the term is when you do it on a professional platform for reloading. You tend to not take that risk when you're getting something from a company, vice getting it from an individual. If you go ahead and you're buying remanufactured or reloaded ammunition, there's a certain danger in that as well, provided that you weren't there when the process was being completed. I think that for folks that do reload their own ammunition, more power to you. If you're able to shoot more in volume because of your own ability to clean, resize, reload, and reprime your own ammunition, then yeah, do that as often as you can. But if you're willing to take that extra risk of purchasing something from somebody who you don't necessarily know or have a good view on their production process, you get what you pay for, and what you pay for may not be good.
Absolutely, and when you must take the appropriate precautions when you're reloading your own ammo or playing with somebody else's ammo if they're bring their own reloaded ammo out with them. Check out every one of those rounds. In a few of the groups that I've been in, that's been a recent, wouldn't say an epidemic, but it's becoming concerning that it's happening so much where guys are almost proud to post pictures of their blown up rifle. And I look at it as a cautionary tale. Some of these people they're not I guess in the same mind frame that I would be about it. And it's happened more often than I like to see, and that comes with a rise in the popularity of the 300 blackout round, which is 7.62 by 35, and that is a 308 caliber bullet. It's not a 311 like a 7.62 by 39. Um, I kind of see it as just another opportunity to sell.
Well, it is, and this is something that was developed by Advanced Armament Corporation. They even put their name on the round itself. It's usually marketed as AAC. But here's the thing. So you talked earlier about it being easily confused with the 5.56. Well, the parent case comes out of the 223 Remington or the 221 Fireball. So you got something that's already a Wildcat round in the 221 Fireball. That's something that people have been mixing around with since the 60s. So you're going to have something that's the same diameter as most 7.62 bullets, but you've got it in a much more compact case length. So it can do some damage if chambered in the wrong weapon.
Now, have you seen any sort of military testing or evaluation of the 300 blackout round? I know there was some evaluation of the 6.8 SPC round, which was considered as an alternative to the 5.56 for a while. But have you seen any sort of like official interest in the 300 blackout?
No, actually, when you look back at the round's history, there is some information about the U.S. Air Force at Eglin Air Force Base doing some limited testing with it in the 1960s. But I'll tell you, more recently, we haven't had any need for it. I think when we were looking at what intermediate type range range and round to go to. The Army, in specifically, was looking at going towards something like the 6.5 Grendel or the 6.8 SPC.
And how would that work with our NATO alliance and our commitment to use interchangeable items?
Well, that would be counter to that agreement. It's basically
I would see that.
Yeah, that's the NATO standardization agreement that we have with the other 28 member nations of NATO to all use interchangeable ammunition in our small arms, and then our crew serve weapons all have to be the same. Yeah, that wouldn't fly. Now, that's not to say that we wouldn't necessarily do it for limited production runs in terms of maybe our special operations, because those guys are able to get whatever they want whenever they want it and for however long they want it. So that's not an issue.
But that's not something that they're going to serve to a Private Pile or Private Joker on their way out to the range in the morning.
Absolutely not. You won't even see that. There won't even be a weapon in inventory for people to look at and say, "Oh wow, hey, maybe that's nice." No, you wouldn't even see that.
So this brings to mind a conversation we've been having over the past couple of weeks regarding the modular handgun system that the Army's proposing, which would replace the Beretta 92 M9 that's currently in use. And last week we covered, or in the past weeks we've covered the M92 or M9A3, which would be the replacement for that.
Well, that's Beretta's offer to replace the M9.
Right, and that was shot down. But in that modular handgun contract, it also calls for larger calibers other than 9mm. Now, considering that our NATO allies use the 9mm, and there's probably not a good chance of making them change, how do you see that maybe affecting future NATO relations, or how does that fit in? I mean, they're almost calling for the next contract to be in a caliber that's not 9mm.
Well, here's the thing. When you take a look at the defense spending between the United States annually versus the defense spending by the individual countries that make up the partner nations on the European side for NATO, there's no comparison. I mean, we've got countries like Germany that spend far less on their defense, and it shows. So when you take into account, hey, things like arms development, ammunition, production, that's not going to happen. The biggest thing that I see is that when it comes down to any decisions being made for Americans, the NATO standardization agreement is a secondary concern. If we're going to have it, we're going to have it in calibers that we want. We will still retain 9mm as long as we have a standardization agreement in place. But if we want something in 10mm, if we want something in 45, if we want something in 357, you will do it. It's just a matter of production and availability and getting that out to the field in a timely manner.
Okay, now in regards to arms research and development, are you aware of the International Defense Expo that's going on in Dubai this week?
I've heard of it. I'm not really up to speed on it. So,
well, it's a gigantic SHOT Show for the military crowd. Basically, it's all the neat goodies for the coming year, and it's everything from small arms to drones to tanks to every land-based vehicle out there. They also have an air defense expo and a naval defense expo. In this particular expo here, Beretta has announced another pistol that seems to be a potential qualifier for this modular handgun contract. And this is called the Beretta APX, and it's a striker-fired pistol, polymer framed with a steel slide. And all in all, it's kind of has a Glock feel to it when you look at the specifications, and you look at it, and it looks like one of those $300 Smith & Wesson SV9s.
I will tell you what it looks like is a hot mess.
Kinda. Now, I'm sure it being a Beretta product, it will probably be top notch. Beretta really doesn't make any kind of junkers. They make things that don't sell to the public, but crap. They're perfectly functional weapons.
This is a perfectly functional piece of crap.
I don't know. It depends on how they price it. Now, Beretta doesn't have a history of pricing things very low, so this won't come in the $300 range like that Smith & Wesson.
Right. So this will be a perfectly functional, more expensive piece of crap.
How do you really feel about this, Nick?
I mean, okay. So when you look at a Beretta, for those of us who have been used to the 92 series pistol for forever, and you see this, you look at it and think this is what happens when Para Ordnance and Glock got together and just said, "Hey, take what you got and mash it together." I mean, that's to me exactly what it looks like.
I think there's a Smith & Wesson in the woodpile there because it's got an awful resemblance to that ugly daddy right there.
Yeah, and when you look at it, the magazine doesn't seem to sit very flush with the magwell and the grip. The slide itself looks hideous, and the trigger.
Well, let's describe the hideousness of this because our audience may not have had a chance to take a look at it. If anybody has an idea of what diamond plate looks like, it's very similar to that.
Yeah,
it's got
like
serrations.
Firemen would stand on.
It kind of has that Keebler elf ladder appeal to it.
Yeah.
For very, very small rescue operations or something. I see the logic behind it. I mean, it gives you a firm place to grasp and operate the slide at any time at any place on the weapon. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a little too much. And this is all purely aesthetics. Like I said, neither of us have fired. This is just a new product that's being offered, and we're looking at it from our perspective, our visual perspective of it.
And
once again, there is no price information. I think that'd be a big part of it.
And when you take a look at it, you're actually going to see that it's got the polymer lower and then the steel slide. So that in itself, you've got competing finishes and competing colors. So if it was like a blackened steel slide or a blued steel slide, I think that would look much more visually appealing and as a coherent product than the stainless finish with the black polymer.
I'm not a fan of the stainless slide in a polymer frame myself.
Yeah, I think that looks kind of nasty. Not to mention that there's awful lot of buttons that don't necessarily look to me like they should be there. I understand that it needs a reversible magazine release. Okay.
Oh, it has a reversible magazine. And we should call it an ambidextrous magazine release, which is something that Beretta seems to be moving to in all their newer design of things.
I don't know that it's I don't know that it's exactly ambidextrous, because that to me means that at any point in time that you could use either side of the magazine drop to.
I think you would have to flip it and reset it.
Right. So that would make it reversible, I think. So
all right.
So when you look at that, you look at some of the other things, it doesn't give me the very good feeling that it's that it's something that I would be comfortable with. It does come with your choice of grips, and it does have some standard features like 3-dot sights. There's a little rail system underneath for added attachments and accessories, but I don't think that it would be something that I would be comfortable purchasing.
Well, more accessories it seems to be the mantra of every gun coming out now. I mean, to be honest, I'm actually kind of impressed that it actually comes with sights. And that it doesn't have a Picatinny rail on the top, so you can go out and buy some Magpul pistol sights or something for it.
Yeah.
I got to give a couple updates. I'm not doing too hot with the cigarette smoking, giving that up. I haven't smoked a menthol cigarette since then, but I have been doing the roll your owns and an occasional cheap cigar, and occasionally those make me cough a little bit. But it does provide the nicotine and benzene and formaldehyde and all that my body craves. Another update I'd have to give is we talked about the repairs that I had done. And actually today I took them out again.
Okay.
That was enlightening to say the least. Fired two magazines after the initial magazine that I fired last week through the Beretta 92 with the trigger guard repair using Gorilla Glue two-part epoxy.
Yep.
And it broke on about the 11th round of the second magazine. It didn't break and pop out, but the bond did not hold.
Yeah, big surprise
So
there.
I'm gonna have to research another. I'm probably gonna have to use some like 5200 or
JB
Marine
Weld.
Tech or something. No, I think I'm gonna have to use something stronger than JB Weld, and if it doesn't, I think I'm gonna have to try and I guess kind of shim it with maybe some aluminum or something. You know, like maybe cut a beer can or something really close and have it fit on there, and then just wrap that sucker in JB Weld again, or whatever. I'd actually probably do it with 5200 next time, just because I've never seen anything break that.
Yeah. Well,
And then we've got the 12 gauge. We've got the 12 gauge that I butchered, and I don't know. I don't think I did a good enough job. The dowel held. The big split opened back up, and once that big split opened back up, I wasn't able to access the second trigger. Like I wasn't able to pull it.
Yeah.
And now I was able to pop the action open and remove the shells and all that. And if I hit that the back trigger first, it was fine. I could hit the front trigger. But if I hit the front trigger first, I couldn't hit the back trigger. So I think I'm going to have to try my hand at whittling a new stock. I don't think this one is going to work.
Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. And plus, if you go ahead and you do the work yourself, you're going to have the satisfaction of knowing that it's your own work. You don't have to worry about.
I will have the satisfaction of knowing that I spent an ungodly amount of hours whittling a stock for a possibly $200 shotgun.
Yeah, but if you got some free time on your hands, that's the way to go.
Yeah. I think that may be in the plans. I may look at something other than wood. I may there's a polymer decking material called Trex, and it's kind of like a plastic wood. They sell it in basically all the same sizes that they sell lumber in, and I may go get a hunk of that and see. It cuts just like wood. I might try that.
Okay. Are you going to give any more thought to maybe buying something off one of the auction sites and getting it that's already cut, save you the time?
No, I've not seen one that would fit what I would be comfortable in spending on this shotgun, which is quite honestly old. It's beat up. It does not have the best finish on it. The ejectors do not throw the shells clear. I got to pull them out. I mean, it pushes them out about halfway, and I got to yank them out the rest.
Yeah.
$200 on a good day to somebody with a nice stock on it.
Well,
maybe 250. So
maybe
I'll be doing
a nice piece of of marbling coming out of like an oak stump or something like that. Unless you guys got walnut in your area.
I believe I'm going to use Trex from the local Home Depot hardware store, whatever I can get my hands on a piece of that stuff. I believe that comes in much closer to the budget, and I think it's going to be easier to work with than a really tough hardwood.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Like I said, I've never done any kind of work on stock repair. I did have a problem once with the Browning X-Bolt where the wood right behind the action broke, and I just ended up saying, you know what? Let's just go ahead and take this and get the polymer stock put on.
And at that point, you would have had, by any kind of messing with it, you would have violated your warranty on that.
Oh,
which,
certainly.
By the way, what did it matter? They didn't honor it anyways.
Exactly. So, if I would have had the time and the inclination of how to do something like that, I could have probably done something. Well, I had a friend at the time too who was fairly well established in making his own stocks, and I could have asked him, but I just didn't figure out doing that.
Well, I don't know. It'll be seen. So we'll have the continuing saga of the Savage 311H series that's been butchered.
The search.
Maybe we'll give it a good name like Bubba or something like that at some point.
Yeah. So no, it's an interesting thing when you start doing the work to bring a firearm that may be damaged and bring it back from the dead. But then again, what ends up happening a lot of times is it just sits in the safe. So don't feel bad.
Or it sits in the safe, or if you do actually end up doing it, you probably end up spending more money on it than you thought you were going to spend in the first place.
Right.
Which isn't that every repair
Well,
on anything?
well, not only that, that's why football players get traded. You know.
Yeah. So anybody out there, I'm going to use a line from my favorite website where I peruse for my trading. Hit me up. I'd like to trade this for something way more valuable than it is.
Oh, you must be on my local gun trader.
I think you know what? I think that guy's on everybody's gun trader.
I tell you what, I noticed that on my gun trader, every Glock that is being lightly used sells for more than brand new. Do you see that?
Right. $100, $550.
Yep.
You can go in and you can buy a Glock any day, anywhere for about $475 to $500. Used $550, $600, $650 sometimes. Hope to God he doesn't have a rail on it, because he probably put like a little bayonet that he's going to charge you about $150 for too.
Yeah, but guess what? You don't have to fill out that pesky ATF form when you go buy a private party.
You mean like our undocumented guns, like our undocumented citizens? I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
Hey, when I grow up, I want to be an illegal alien. They get all the benefits.
I would say I want to grow up and be Mexican, but what the hell? I'm already living in Mexico. Let's go for it.
Well, when you come down and look at it, you need licenses for damn near everything you do in this country, except making kids and probably making your own pharmaceuticals. Those are the only two things you really don't need licenses for. But everything else you do need, you want to do, you do need a license for. So, take a look at it like that. Illegals are going to get the driver's licenses, and guess what? That's just the back door into getting them to vote. So that way they can further restrict your ability to get guns through legislation.
I would like to remind everybody that you can only vote yourself free shit until the free shit runs out.
Oh, what do you mean runs out?
That's right. We'll just print more. We'll just print
more. And Michael, speaking of printing, I think we had a story that we wanted to bring out. We're not exactly scooping anything, but we've got some interesting information about FedEx.
Let's talk about our favorite carrier, our favorite private carrier that does not indulge our pastime.
Right. Okay. So we have a story that published today, and it's basically stating that FedEx is refusing to ship the Defense Distributed's CNC machines. Kevin DeLeon out of California, if you remember from the Ghost Gun fame, they're not willing to do that. They are refusing to ship because it may be used to create firearms. And
now let's talk about this. This is from Defense Distributed. This is a mill that's designed to take 80% lowers. Is that correct?
Yeah. You'd be able to pretty much create your 80% lower.
And FedEx won't ship a legal product that requires no license in the United States to own.
That is 100%. That is 100% accurate. And the reason is because it may be used, in accordance with its design, functionally, legally, lawfully, and correctly. It could be used for nefarious purposes, as they claim.
Well, I'd like to state proudly that we've dropped our FedEx sponsorship, and we proudly support Brown. So go ahead and ship all your firearms and firearms-related items through UPS from now on.
That's right. So, I tell you what, everywhere you go, we're supposed to be the land of the free. Everywhere you go, you take a look, and your individual rights to do things that you want, build things that you want, purchase things that you want, you're being assaulted on all sides. And I think that it's a sad thing that when we have a product such as a 80% lower, which is completely legal, is not a firearm. It's basically
what is it?
Machine steel.
A
80%
hunk
lower.
of steel.
It's a hunk of steel that may or may not have been finish coated, and it has just the bare rudimentary outline of the firearms lower. And this is
It's
mostly
cheap.
used for the AR series rifles.
There are some 80% 1911 frames out there, but we don't hear as much about that.
Right, yeah, because most people are, they're not willing to screw up a 1911 like they're willing to screw up an AR-15.
Well, there is a significant price between the two 80% frames. Usually, you can find an 80% lower less than $50.
Oh, certainly,
And if you
yeah.
find a 80% frame for 1911, you're looking at probably closer to $150.
Right, and when you take a look at it, you can get the I think it was Ares Arms that was making those that were rated by the ATF. Hadn't broken any laws, but because of an interpretation or a bureaucrat's decision, somebody said that these are illegal, and there's no due process, there's no ability to address a grievance with that. You just have agents showing up, raiding your facility, taking your customer list, taking your inventory. I mean, to me, that's just flat out wrong. That.
Well, and
no court order.
The owner of Ares Armor.
Go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Did they won a lawsuit against the San Diego Sheriff's Department today?
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that, so please enlighten.
Yeah, it was over Facebook post regarding this. They took the issue to the court in San Diego, and they've been awarded a $20 judgment.
Woohoo! This sounds like the old USFL getting $1 from the NFL.
Something along those lines, because to be honest with you, it's another game.
Tell you what, folks. You have an opportunity to learn how to do something. Maybe you want to do it for a hobby. Maybe you want to do it to break into the industry. Watch your back. Lawyer up, as they say, because eventually you're going to have a visit from somebody, and it's probably going to be from a 3-letter agency that doesn't want you to do the things that you're interested in. We've talked before, Michael, and I've kind of kicked around the idea of trying to get myself a FFL. And when I spoke to my local FFL holder, I asked him some very pointed questions, and the answers that he had for me didn't give me a warm and fuzzy about being able to do this as a private citizen. Certainly.
You did not feel the enjoyment of your rights would be duly appreciated.
No,
by those in power.
Certainly not. And not only that, when an ATF agent visits your store and is of the opinion that you shouldn't have an FFL as a business owner, or what do you think the prevailing thought is amongst the rest of the law enforcement community?
I believe they are scared to death of people having a way to say no.
Well,
if you look at what's going on in the state of Texas, we've got our constitutional carry or open carry provisions in the legislature right now, which the governor has stated that he will sign. And there's a lot of fighting between whether or not it's going to be licensed carry or it's going to be constitutional carry. I'm telling you, get one and do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So when you have the ability to create a finished lower, I think pretty much the only thing you're going to need is a drill press, maybe a couple files, just some finishing tools. You're looking at a way for you to be able to expand your knowledge, possibly start a business, become somebody that's willing to take a little bit more time to get the self-satisfaction of running something yourself. But you've got a government bureaucracy that acts at the behest of a very limited number of non-elected officials, and they can make a decision that's binding. To me, that's just insane. And what's worse,
and not only that, they bend to the pressure of the special interest groups. We could take into account Michael Bloomberg's group, and I'd like to actually pick on Mothers Against Everything, and their spokesman Shannon Watts, who portrays herself as a grassroots activist. Well, knock knock, America. Here's the fucking truth. Shannon Watts is a propagandist. Shannon Watts is a former employee of Monsanto, the same people who put poison in your food and in the crops and all that kind of crap. This is an organized effort to take away your rights, to take away your last way to say, no, I do not comply.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, I just, it's insane to me that folks that want to be able to do things with firearms that are legal, they just have to look over their back. And, I don't see it getting any better in the next couple of years. So I think as some folks have said, just keep your heads down, keep buying ammunition, and keep your weapons oiled.
In the words of our beloved Steve Quayle, who's prayed away more disasters than any alternative radio host out there, buy ammo for Jesus, people. Buy ammo for Jesus.
That's for our Christian friends.
Yeah, it's for whoever wants to buy ammo.
Yeah. So no, that's one of the things. I was looking around, and while I was there over at Dick's, that Henry survival rifle I saw was in the case, brand new, $249.
So that kind of made you feel a little bit good, didn't it?
Yeah. It was a happy guy. Didn't see anything really on the shelf in terms of the used or previously owned rifles and shotguns, but I think that when I look at Dick's as compared to, say Gander Mountain, which is the other local one that we have, Gander Mountain does seem to have a much larger firearms collection, and then plus they'll go ahead and they'll make orders for you to do whatever. But
and Gander Mountain also in the face of the crisis time in the last couple of years, Gander Mountain didn't immediately jack up prices and say they were going to stop selling firearms and then change their mind and start selling them again once they realized that people were paying out the ass through them.
Oh, so certainly. And not only that,
slam at you, cheaper than dirt.
Yep, cheaper than dirt. And Dick's in my area, Dick's did go ahead and push their prices through the roof, and even took the AR-15s off the shelf.
Yeah, so be aware of who you're doing business. Sometimes it's not all about saving those pennies. Sometimes it's about doing business with people who are good folks. And I would dare say that Dick's and Cheaper Than Dirt are not good folks. I wanted to address a question that popped up in the chat room, and this is actually a very pertinent question. What kind of gun oil do you like?
Yeah, I go for Ballistol. Like I said, when I was in Germany, it was readily available, and it's done everything I needed it to do. Most folks.
It's a little bit pricey here and not quite as available as it is in Europe. That usually runs about $30 a quart.
Yeah, and but the thing is that how much do you actually use? And if you use it with the little attachable spigot to it, you're gonna be able to use it, and you're not going to have as much spillage and waste of the product. So
see, now I've always looked at Ballistol as more of a cleaner than an oil, but I know they do make an oil as well.
Yeah.
And actually, for protectant, I like gear oil.
Well,
I really do.
The reason why I throw out the Ballistol is that not only do they have the lubricant and the cleaner, they actually make a wood stock oil. And for those of you that do have wood stocks and like to preserve those, definitely you want to make sure that you're using that. Folks that I know kind of go between that and linseed oil. I'll tell you what, wood dries out. Think about the doors in your house during the summertime. They'll whenever the humidity is up, they'll swell up. In the wintertime when it dries out, they'll shrink back down. Your stock will go through the same changes. And
I'm going to tell you what, that's the exact reason that Operation PrimerTime shotgun took its dump.
Lesson learned.
I'm going to say that's what it was, because I mean it's a tough shotgun. It's an old shotgun. It's been around the ringer, and I dropped it. and it broke on a drop. So I mean, that's wood fatigue right there.
Well, and here's the thing, you know,
Improper care and all that as
improper
well.
care, improper maintenance. One of the other things that I've seen folks, here in the chat room, we've seen some folks that use hops number 9. You may have seen those silicone impregnated little patches, or sometimes they're about hand size cloths. You be careful using that stuff, folks, because when you go ahead and you rub that down the barrel, you rub that down the action. I've seen more often than not that will actually lead to some rusting on those metal surfaces. So definitely be careful. Just go with whatever the manufacturer recommends, unless it's something that you've used on multiple firearms and your comfort with that product is where you feel it should be.
Some of the older firearms actually recommended the use of motor oil.
Yeah, certainly. But, one of the things that motor oil has gone through, unlike ammunition for certain calibers like 30-06, there have been some product enhancements over the years. There's been some research that's been done to improve. We were talking about the ammunition availability, and why is 30-06 ammo $1.50 a round? I aside from ballistic tips, I really don't think that there's been any kind of research and development that's led to any greater effect on killing deer than.
There really hasn't been any sort of powder research, anything that would affect the price. No sort of research and development into that, other than, you're right, than the ballistic tip bullet.
Yeah,
there's been no advances in the science of making brass or primers or anything along those lines. No, yeah, so. Maybe the $1.50 a round is because people will pay it.
I think that's what it is. I think there's a certain element of, there's brand familiarity, there's brand loyalty, and then there's just people who are plain dumb. So if you're going to be willing to pay that much money, I'm sure there's people that are going to be willing to sell it to you for whatever you're willing to pay.
And as we've seen, there are people willing to pay stupid amounts for ammunition when all they have to do is go down to the store and pay regular retail price.
Right.
So don't buy from people online. That's just keeping the price up. When you see that guy who's got the bucket of golden bullets for $140, remember that he picked it up for $70.
Yeah, or he should have.
No, chances are he did pick it up at $70. He got it at one of the big box retailers,
which is really the only place where you're going to get it from now on.
Yeah, it's unless you're going to pay through the nose. And I'm serious. I've seen that same bucket of bullets, which is 1,400 rounds, loose packed rounds of Remington Golden Bullet, not the greatest stuff in the world. It's got more. Failure to ignite primers and all that. I've seen that go as high as $250 at a gun show. So, I mean, be a smart shopper. If you find it for $65, hold on to it. Don't add to the mess by trying to flip it. If you need it, buy it. If you don't, pass it on to the next guy. This is community, so kind of look out for your fellow man a little bit. Don't try and gouge them for the bottom dollar.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. One of the listeners out there just threw out some WD-40. I would certainly recommend against using water displacement Formula 40 as a lubricant for your firearm.
It has stuff in it.
Yeah, I think that anybody that's ever used WD-40 on a hinge knows that within about 7 to 10 days, whatever squeaking noise you were going to try to get rid of will return louder.
It seems that way, and I'll tell you what: if you were to put a squirt of 90 weight gear oil in it, that would never squeak ever again.
There you go. If you can find it.
90 weight gear oil sticks to shadows.
Yeah.
So it's
aside
really
from the environmental restrictions on using 90 weight gear oil.
It's readily available at any kind of auto parts store. You can buy it at Walmart. I mean, it's about $8 for a quart of it, and a little bit goes a long way with that. I think 1 quart of 90 weight gear oil would run an armory for quite a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's going to have their they're going to have their standby. They're going to have their favorite. And, I'm not going to besmirch anybody for using what they think is appropriate for their firearm. But when it comes down to it, take a look and see what the individual reaction is, between the metal and whatever lubricant you choose.
And not only the lubricant,
than,
what you store it in as
certainly,
well.
Yeah.
I hate to regale you with my heartache, which would be a really nice old Smith & Wesson K22 Target Master revolver that, well, it is kind of irreplaceable, that I left in a velvet flocked case, and I came back about a month and a half later to a gun covered in Cheeto. And then when I took it out, velvet flock stuck to the gun, and I cried as I cut it all off. It was bad news. I mean, it still shoots fine, but it's ugly as all sin now.
I was going to say, what's worse is it looks like it has a frayed out afro now.
It looks like it's covered in Cheeto dust, and so that's going to be one of my candidates for Cerakoting at some time in the future, if I can find somebody who I can trust. And
well, that's one of the things we're talking about with the proper maintenance. We don't really even get into the proper storage of firearms. Some folks like to store firearms in just a little stack on cabinet. Some folks go the other end of the spectrum with the 72-hour fire resistant safe, complete with dehumidifier and silica packets everywhere.
And power ports, and they have safes that have 110 electricity inside of them. Yeah, there's a wide variety. Personally, I like the cheap safe behind a locked door.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Depending upon the environment where you live, I would say, in your more humid environments, like any of the island states that we have, whether it be Rhode or Hawaii, you're probably going to want to have some kind of desiccant to make sure that you're trying to keep the humidity pretty low. Even where you're at, you probably want to, make sure that your weapons have a light coating of some type of oil on them, just to make sure that the rust.
That's one of the reasons why I'm a fan of the gear oil, because I mean, not only for the lubrication of the weapon, for its operation, but it is a good preservant. I mean, I found a bag of magazines that I had put away maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I completely forgot about them, and I found them when I was moving some stuff around, and I had hit those with a liberal coating of gear oil and pulled them out, and they were all fine.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
And that's in my 90% salt air. That's actually like 90% frozen salt air tonight. It's pretty damn cold.
That means you get to make margaritas.
Yeah, come on, bring on the tequila rain.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, Michael, I think it's at that time where we need to go ahead and hit the 4 rules of firearm safety.
All right. Well, first rule of firearm safety is every firearm is loaded. It is always loaded until you visually and physically inspect it. Rule number 2 is do not point the muzzle at anything you do not wish to destroy. Don't cover anybody with that gun. Just point it around. Rule number 3 is know what your target is and know what is beyond your target at all times. And rule number 4 is keep the booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon.
There you go. Down and dirty. So
at your foray into Dick's playground out there, what was the 22 long rifle like?
22 long rifle is held under lock and key in the back.
In the back, they don't even put it on display.
Not even on display. I had to ask, and the only way I think the guy figured I wasn't just going to come in and buy out the lot was that I commented on the Henry survival rifle first, and then I said, "Well, you wouldn't happen to have any ammunition for that, would you?" And he kind of looked to the side, left and right, and he's like, "Yeah, I think we got a couple of 333s in the back."
Did you pick them up?
No, didn't have time. Had to get back to work, man.
Oh, you should have got them. Oh, you blew a golden opportunity.
Yeah, like I said, I'm doing quite well with picking up my 50 rounds at a time, and I'm getting it from my local guy. And my local guy is happy with me and gives me, the 10 cents a round deal.
that's almost pricey on just bulk ammo. I mean, I can see 10 cents around for something that's premium, like maybe a CCI Stinger, or maybe even a CCI Mini Mag. Actually, that Mini Mag shouldn't be that expensive either. Those should be about 7-8 cents a round.
Well, yeah, but
But
when you
I can't
compare that,
pay 10 cents a round for Bolt Golden Bullet, or Federal Blue Box, or a 525 or a 333 pack.
yeah,
I
but
just can't pay 10 cents a
how far
round.
do you have to drive to get that ammo?
Me, let's pretend I don't have any 22 long rifle ammo, and I have to make the run, the nearest place I would be able to go probably is, if it's not at the nearest Walmart to me, which it is not, I can almost guarantee that. I'd say it's a 50-mile one-way trip.
Wow, and that's gas you're spending. So for me, it's a quarter mile down the road, and I could walk if necessary, which I'm old, so I don't walk anywhere. I've been to the desert, so I have earned the gas that we stole. So you bet I'm driving. And
this portion has been sponsored by Halliburton.
there you go. Thank you for the very good breakfasts. And I'll spend $5 for 50 rounds. That's not a problem. Especially when it's close, it's with a local guy, and it's somebody that I've dealt with in the past.
And it's cementing your relationship with this retailer. He's probably going to cut you solid in the future on this.
Yeah,
You're the guy who doesn't come in and bitch and moan and piss and whine about lack of this or any of that.
No.
It's a good way to be.
So there you go. It's all about that interpersonal relationship and establishing that rapport. So we're good there.
And that's what we see with this is this is more of a community related thing. It's something easily that you can make friends with. You can make new acquaintances with. I've never seen any kind of distemper at the range other than people, I don't know, bragging about their AR-15 or something like that. And then it's usually, it's just kind of a little bit of a pissing match. It's not anything. I think people are realizing now that we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And sort of like motorcyclists have kind of a feeling. It doesn't matter if you ride a Harley or you ride a little Japanese moped. As long as the wind is in your hair, you're doing the right thing. I think firearms people are getting to be that same way. It doesn't matter if you shoot a 22 or a 44 Magnum. As long as you're out there making it go bang.
That's it. That's all that matters. And I think one of the things that folks, as like we talked earlier at the beginning of the show, do yourself a favor, do your shooting community a favor. Make sure that you get a chance to go comment on the ATF's plan to ban the XM855 and the SS109 ammunition. You definitely want to go ahead and say that just because there's a steel core or steel tip ammunition out there doesn't necessarily make it armor piercing. We're looking at intent versus design, and I think that leaving that up to some bureaucrats' ideas is a bad business.
Well, I think it's just pushing for more division in the country, and watch out for when they decide to use the neat and nifty toys that they have.
Yeah. Well, Michael, I want to say thanks to our listeners. Another week down, and PrimerTime is a great opportunity for us to talk about the things that we want to talk about. Want to say thanks to Jules for giving us the opportunity to be out here, and as always, thanks to my good buddy Chris. He's out there listening, and Michael, thanks for getting me on here. Appreciate it.
Nick, I wouldn't do it with anybody else, man. I totally appreciate you being here. I'd like to give a shout out to my boy Timmy tonight. He gave me a great big hand today, and tonight's for you, man. I appreciate it. Jules, thank you very much. UCY is an innovative platform. Everybody gets their say. Maybe not your cup of tea, but guess what? There's a big plate of rainbow lasagna for you out there somewhere. I'm telling you, that woman's voice sounds like cookies. It's awesome. I don't know what she's saying, but it's the best stuff that I don't know what she's saying. Everybody stick around. Lots of good programming up next. As the band says, buy a gun.